What's up guys, welcome back to another episode of the MKWii series. In this series we're playing 16 completely randomized custom tracks from MKWii and rate them all at the end. Now before we get into this, it should be said that this is actually not the first time that I'm recording this episode. I had actually previously recorded this entire episode, but when editing it I noticed that the sound got messed up, so I decided to scrap the original recording and do it again. All the tracks that I'm playing today are played just like in the original recording, so they are still randomized. However, the randomization happened in the original recording and not right now, I guess. And the first track that I picked for the original recording was just another Bowser Castle, so let's get into that. So obviously I've played all of these tracks already, but yeah, this track is very much based on BC3 when it comes to the visuals, obviously. I will still try to talk about as much as possible here. It's pretty difficult when you don't play the track for the first time because I guess you don't really notice as many new things. But for this track in general, I'm not really way too sure what to talk about, but I guess I can talk about my relations to BC3 because BC3 has become my least favorite track in MKWii. While I still think that Shy Guy Beach sucks, I've just definitely not enjoyed playing BC3 recently. I mean, it's never been one of my favorite tracks in MKWii, but by now I just really hate it. Thankfully, this is not BC3. The layout here is completely different. So yeah, it just looks like BC3, which is fine. I wouldn't say the visuals down BC3 is terrible. And this one definitely is more fun than BC3, that's for sure. It is a little more simplistic, but definitely more enjoyable in my opinion. I think the title pretty much references how many Bowser's Castle tracks exist. There is also a track called Just Another Rainbow Road. And yeah, obviously Bowser Castle and Rainbow Road are the most common track names in Mario Kart, since every Mario Kart game has at least one of them. But especially with Bowser Castle, it gets pretty out of control in especially the 2D Mario games. Okay, what the heck was that? Yeah, in Mario Kart Super Circuit alone, there's 4 Bowser's Castles, which is honestly nuts. But somehow they're all completely different. Alright, let's see if we can still beat these CPUs. But yeah, regarding this track, I would say it's fine. It's not one of the stronger tracks that I played in this episode, but it's a solid start, I guess. Yeah, I gave this track 4 stars, and I feel like that rating definitely makes sense for this kind of track. It's overall just fairly fun to drive, kind of simplistic, not super interesting gameplay-wise or visually, but overall just a very fun track. So I feel like 4 stars here is definitely fair. The second track that got picked by the random wheel is Toxi City. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm probably showing footage of the wheel spinning, and if you're wondering why the background is different, that's because I'm actually playing on a new version of MKWii, which added the Super Mario Odyssey theme, which I think is super cool. And this update actually also for the very first time features some of my CTs. So from the next episode on, we could technically have some of my own custom tracks, although the chances for that are of course very low as of now since I haven't made many tracks yet. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. We're playing Toxi City. This right here is actually a CT Jam track, and it has a pretty unique visual style. It's like mostly completely blue except for like a few elements. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this is actually based on Aqua City from the Underwater CT Jam, since this was created for the Underwater sequel CT Jam. This track has some very interesting gameplay, as you can see right here. Definitely not something that you usually see. There's a lot of really unique gameplay aspects, and I usually like those. There is another pathway here. I believe it's a shortcut since there's a bit of off-road. Yeah, I don't think it's way faster, but it's pretty cool to have. Is this even fast at all? Not sure. I'm just realizing, why does this have parkway music? The music choices sometimes are really interesting here. By the way, we can also go up here, which is pretty neat. Oh, I see how this goes. We can actually go there by this pathway. I guess I probably forgot about that since it's been a while since I recorded that episode. Okay, I should probably leave from this section. Oh gosh. Oh my gosh, that is brutal. Dude, stop! There is no MKWii episode without getting comboed. We know the deal, guys. But this time we got comboed by the cars, not by the items. So I guess you could call this a skill issue. And I'm probably losing to all the CPUs right now. Yeah, we're getting 9th. Cringe. Anyway, this track is quite cool, to be honest. In my original recording, I gave this 4 stars. I still think that 4 stars is fair, although I could see an argument for 5 stars. I would say it's definitely borderline, but in the end, I am giving this 4 stars. Since it is a little bit jank and maybe a tiny bit confusing, the cars can be a bit of an issue as we just saw. Yeah, definitely a deserved upper 4 stars rating, that's for sure. The third track that I picked in the original recording is our first retro track, which is GBA Sunset Wilds by Flint. Alright, so I'm actually pretty excited to play this one again because this is a very good version of Sunset Wilds, probably the best one. I mean, look at the visuals. They already look pretty fantastic, not gonna lie. I am actually still pretty shocked that this didn't get accepted into CGP because I think this is quite a bit better than the CGP version. Not like the CGP version is bad, I actually like that one a lot, but this one's definitely better than that, in my opinion at least. Yeah, first off, it looks better, and then there's also quite some neat gameplay things that I really enjoy on this one. The track overall feels a bit more functional, I'd say. Although the tricks on these like dino footsteps are are a bit more difficult to get. So that's probably one of the biggest downsides of this. But I really like this streamless shortcut at the end. Like, they changed it a bit, sure, but there is still the shortcut. Oh yeah, also by the way, unlike the Booster Course Pass version of this track, this one actually has a sunset. Like, I know that Nintendo is really lazy, but I'm still surprised that they didn't even add a sunset at all. Oh my god, I cannot do this fucking shortcut. It's really not that hard. I don't know why I failed it on both laps so far. I also like the ending here, by the way, because there's actually a bit of a ramp. Okay, why am I getting wrecked again? Okay, we could still catch up by actually getting the shortcut this time, so let's do that. There we go. It's really not that hard. It's actually very easy. And yeah, we finished off with this pretty cool last ramp, and yeah, pretty cool track. So obviously, I gave this one 5 stars. There's really no reason not to give this 5 stars. I'd say this is mostly a perfect remake. Like, really, the only minor complaint is that sometimes the dino footsteps are hard to trick off, but it's definitely nowhere near a big issue in my opinion, and probably easy to fix too. But yeah, everything else about this is just amazing and definitely the best version of this track that I've played so far. So yeah, easy 5 stars. Alright, track number 4 from the original recording is Rusty Garden. So let's get into that. Alright, so this is where once again my mushroom track bias gets to kick in, because you can't see it yet, but this is pretty much a mushroom track. There's quite some mushrooms. Visually, this track actually kind of reminds me of Peaks. It has like a pretty simplistic visual style with, you know, pretty much the same colors as on Peaks. Gameplay wise, it's definitely not Peaks, that's for sure. That's interesting. That actually never happened to me in the original recording. Usually the mushroom sections seem to work quite well, although the respawn is definitely a bit too low. That one could definitely be placed a bit better, although I imagine it's difficult with the mushrooms. Anyway, yeah, despite this track looking definitely a bit older than most tracks that we're playing today, it actually works fairly well, and despite being long, it's also quite fun to drive in my opinion. And yeah, I just really enjoy mushroom tracks, especially that mushroom is just super cool. Actually, you know what? Gameplay wise, my most major complaint is actually probably lap count, since the track is quite long. Oh gosh, I don't know what that was. That never happened to me either in the last recording. Will that affect the rating? Probably not. I'm probably not going to change any of the positions from the original recording, even if my mind actually changes about these tracks, since, you know, there wasn't supposed to be a re-recording of this. That was just due to bad audio quality, so it would be kind of unfair if certain tracks had like an advantage or disadvantage just because I had to re-record this episode. But so far, I'd say I still agree with all of my placements from the original episode. But anyway, this track received 3 stars in my original recording. It was borderline between 3 and 4 stars, and I definitely still agree with that. I would probably give this 4 stars if it was 2 laps, but I do enjoy the gameplay quite a fair bit, which is probably just because of mushroom track bias. And yeah, overall a pretty solid track. The 5th track for today is Sky Speedway 2. There's also Sky Speedway and Sky Speedway 1, which is pretty confusing, but we're playing Sky Speedway 2 right here. So immediately the visuals are definitely based off GBA Sky Garden, which makes sense for the name, I feel like. I'm not the biggest Sky Garden enjoyer, to be honest. It's a pretty overrated track, in my opinion. This track is pretty interesting gameplay wise, not gonna lie, and you'll see what I mean, but only if I actually get to drive, because right now I'm just missing my startup boost and driving to the off-road like an idiot. Isn't that fun? Anyway, the track doesn't start off way too crazy. There is some pretty tight turns, and in fact I just fell off. What is interesting is this cannon. It's quite slow and shoots you into a turn. It's actually quite hard to get around the turn after the cannon. Yeah, with this track I feel like it could probably benefit from an upscale, although I'd imagine on Mark bike this works fine. But you know, I'm a flame runner main, and I completely forgot about the power thing, and I'm getting blued again. What I was gonna say, I'm a flame runner main, so obviously my opinion is going to depend on how fun the track is on flame runner. Overall though, this track is fine, definitely. Do I think this is better than Sky Garden? I would say they're quite similar in quality actually. They both have their ups and downs. Like the last track, this one also gets 3 stars. It's pretty much like in the middle of 3 stars, I guess. It's not really a 2-star track. It's not really a 4-star track. And obviously it's also not a 1 or 5-star track. It's overall fine. Just has a few gameplay issues and it's not super interesting, but not a bad track, that's for sure. Alright, it's time for track number 6, and that one turned out to be Forsaken Desert. So I don't know what it is with the creator of this track. I think he's called Mr. Perfect MKWii, but for some reason he is really good at making tracks that are like simplistic, both gameplay wise and visually, but somehow he always manages to make these kinds of tracks extremely fun. Like, I don't know how that works, but it's honestly pretty cool. It's like an own track creation style that's somehow executed very well, even though it doesn't look like that at first. I mean, looking at the visuals, it doesn't seem like anything special, and looking at the gameplay, you only got 90-degree turns and like some non-trackable ramps, so you wouldn't think that this is that strong of a track, but it really is. Yeah, I don't know, maybe I just like his track creation style, but honestly, this track is really fun overall, and I completely failed that shit. Yeah, you can hop over that and take this little shroom, the shortcut right here, which I think is super cool, and you can even continue it right here, which is hard, but if you get it, it's really cool. Wait, did I get respawned further back? It could be that the respawns here don't all work like very well. I don't quite remember, to be honest, since the recording recording was done like a month ago. I'm currently kind of slow, so yeah, sorry about that, guys. Either way, I think the main reason why I enjoyed this track so much is just because of all these really cool strats, because this track does have a lot of those. Oh, you can actually get a trick there. Wow, I didn't even know that. I'm actually not gonna trick here this time, and I'm still off. Alright, we're probably gonna get respawned back here again. Yeah, we do. I don't know what's the reason why we don't get a good respawn, but let's just do this now. I'm probably gonna lose the CPUs, but honestly, it's fine. I'm getting used to it, definitely. When InsaneKWii has told me one thing, it's that CPUs can be extremely cracked. Or actually, I can be just extremely fucking stupid. Can you also go over here? Yes, you can. Yeah, this track is just really cool for all the strats, not gonna lie. The respawn is definitely the biggest issue, but otherwise, this track is super good. And yeah, we're getting like 9th again, just like on Toxi City. And just like Toxi City, I gave this track 4 stars. I could definitely give this 5 stars if it wasn't for that one respawn, because that one respawn is extremely brutal. Otherwise, this track is incredibly fun. Yeah, just like I said, that Mr. Perfect MKWii guy takes simple concepts and makes them amazing. Pretty cool track. We have reached track number 7, which is going to be The Void. Out of all the tracks that we've played in the original recording, this is definitely one of the most unique visually. The entire track has like this really cool black and white visual style. And yeah, let's now play the track and talk about the gameplay a little bit, I guess. Overall, this track definitely has quite some elevation. We go up and down a lot here. We got a pretty big ramp here, which... okay, I didn't remember that rank being so problematic. It's easy to forget something that you did like a month ago. This like downward slope is kind of jank, to be honest. And then we go down another slope, which is also kind of jank. But since it's sticky road, it's not actually a very big problem at all. I would say that overall this track is quite fun. The design isn't like really anything new, but okay, we're definitely falling off again. Oh, never mind, I guess the bell helped. By the way, the new InsaneKWii update added so many super cool features. I would go over all of them, but I don't have the time for that. If you guys haven't played InsaneKWii yet, I recommend checking it out. I very highly recommend that, in fact. In total, InsaneKWii by now has almost 4,000 tracks. There is quite some jank tracks in InsaneKWii, but most of them are like quite good and playable. And this is definitely one of them. This track's not bad. Yeah, in the original episode, I gave this a 4-star rating, which I do still agree with. Visually, it looks quite unique, which gives this track a bit of an identity. And the gameplay is not that special, but I would say it's overall fine. So 4 stars definitely makes the most sense for a track like this. We are now at the last track before the halfway point, which is going to be Desert Raceway by JorisMKW. So Joris is obviously the person that made Desert 4, which is one of the most iconic tracks in CTGP, but it's actually not the only amazing desert track that he made, because this one exists too. There's definitely better tracks that he made, visually speaking, but the gameplay here is just as good as ever. Joris is definitely a bit of a genius when it comes to making CTs that have like really great gameplay. And yeah, overall the gameplay just feels quite strong and very smooth, and everything is just fun to drive here. By the way, even though these pillars look like they should give you a lot of air, they're not actually that bad. Didn't I also have like a really action-filled race last time? On some tracks, the CPUs are just stupidly good. That's actually usually the case on my tracks too, like on Monochrome Valley, for example. It's actually really interesting to play custom tracks now that I'm actually a CT creator myself, because you actually get like a bit more info that I didn't really have before about like how to make tracks and what's possible and what's not possible, what's hard to fix, what's easy to fix. And yeah, it's quite interesting to play tracks like this. Obviously, I'm still new to the CT creation scene, but I definitely know more about CTs than I did before, that's for sure. We're getting close to the end of this race, and this track is definitely going to get 5 stars. This track is just super fun overall. There's really no complaints that I have about this, like gameplay wise. It's overall just extremely fun to play, and the visuals look great. And yeah, overall just a pretty action-filled track, and definitely deserves 5 stars. Having crossed the halfway point of this video, we can now move on to track number 9, which is Monochrome Malfunction. Now, we've actually played Monochrome City in the past, but this track is actually nothing like that, although you can't really see that right now. Alright, now we can actually see the track, and it looks quite unique visually. I'm still not actually 1000% sure how these textures work, but you know, we'll mess around with the track. There's 5 laps, so we'll have enough time to mess around. I believe the orange is out of bounds. Yep, it is. The red should be off-road. Yeah, this track is quite interesting, not gonna lie. Regarding the lap count, I'm usually not that fond of 5-lap tracks, but this one's only 20 seconds per lap, so it's fine. But there's definitely a lot of tracks that are like too long to be 5 laps, and are still 5 laps. But here it's definitely justified, and yeah, at the end of the day, this track is getting 3 stars. It's overall a pretty okay track. It's not super interesting, it has some gameplay issues, but it's fine overall. Pretty confusing theme, not really sure what to make of this one, but I feel like 3 stars does make the most sense here. Now we're getting to some very interesting tracks, starting off with Bowser's Gothic Castle. This track definitely has one of the coolest visual styles out of any track that we're playing today. I really like these kinds of castle visuals. I think they look awesome. It's also quite unique. Like, I can't really recall any track that looks similar to this one. I guess Gothic Castle from CGP also has like kind of brown visuals, but it definitely doesn't look similar to this. So yeah, the visuals are already super interesting, and I'm bonking into the wall because I suck at this game, and I'm getting bananas, and I'm getting stars. All right, classic Insane Car Wii right there. Anyway, the gameplay here is really interesting. It's actually a pretty difficult track since there is quite some tight corners here, but overall it's also quite fun to play, and it has a lot of interesting gameplay elements. This is probably the hardest section of the track because there is quite some ramps leading like into turns. Not the biggest issue. On some tracks it can even be quite fun. Oh gosh. That's a bit hard to see because you're coming like from right around the turn. Maybe the straightaway to that should have been a bit longer. Yeah, in the original recording, I gave this 4 stars. This track is incredibly cool, so I could see a point for 5 stars, but there is a few gameplay issues with this. Overall, the track is quite difficult, but overall still a very fun track with really impressive visuals, so 4 stars it is. Going from one interesting track to another one, we have Aurora Field. I think you can already kind of see by the visuals that this isn't just your standard CT. I mean, look at the skybox. I know that's the only thing that this intercom is showing, but it's pretty cool still. And the track doesn't get less interesting, trust me. All right, now we actually see the track, and this looks extremely interesting. I really love this road texture. There is some sharp turns, like right here at the start. Usually the start is the most well-optimized part of the track, but not here. Anyway, we then proceed by driving up a slope and pretty much driving like sideways like this. Yeah, overall this track has a lot of interesting gameplay elements, and we haven't even seen like a third of them yet. Here we actually have like a leaf pile section, which I think is quite cool. The leaf piles drop all sorts of items. Imagine if that was the case on Maple. Maple would be like a hated track, not gonna lie. Also, I don't know where I'm going. This section right here, unfortunately, has ice physics, which I feel like is not that nice because it also has like a really sharp turn. So like the last track, this one has some gameplay issues, but it's overall still really fun and memorable. And obviously the visuals look amazing. I mean, there's just so many great visual elements on this track. All right, my challenge for lap 2 is not being dumb. So let's take this turn more like this, and boom, that makes it quite a bit easier. This leaf pile section is actually probably my favorite part of the track. I think it's quite cool to have like all these items that you need to avoid, and you don't have that much time to react to it. It's like pretty much a reflex test. What the heck? All right, let's not get comboed again, please. Gosh, how am I alive right now? I was like half off the track, dude. This is crazy, dude. The CPUs here are cracked. Very intense race. All right, a blue shell to end it off, apparently. Let's hope we can still get first. We're on the final straightaway, so we might be fine here. Oh gosh, another blue shell. Oh no. All right, come on, come on, come on. All right, there we go. We should be fine. That was extremely intense, but in the original recording, I gave this 4 stars, which I do still agree with. It's the same story as Bowser's Gothic Castle. The track is extremely cool, has an awesome visual style, and lots of really fun gameplay elements. But just like Bowser's Gothic Castle, there is definitely some major gameplay issues here that do prevent this from being 5 stars. Despite the different themes and different layouts, these 2 tracks that we just played are actually remarkably similar. With 5 more tracks to go, we are now playing Delfino Isle. Now, despite the slightly different name, this is actually a remake of Delfino Island, one of the most iconic tracks in all of CGP. I'll say right away that Delfino Island is one of my absolute favorite tracks in CGP, and ZPL's version made it even better visually. I do think that this is the best version visually, but gameplay wise, I don't think anything can beat the original Delfino Island. Doesn't mean that this gameplay is bad though, because this track actually has amazing gameplay. And with amazing, I mean like really amazing. I get why some people might dislike Delfino Island and want this version CGP, since this one is more functional. But yeah, overall, I would just say that Delfino Island is just an amazing track no matter what version you play. What's great is that you do still have the pathways here. Also, I'm getting combo right now. They don't work exactly the same as in CGP, but I would say they still work well unless you bonk. Anyway, I think this is quite cool that there's still quite some resemblance of the original Delfino Island when it comes to like these pathways, but I am not actually sure if that's possible streamless. They did remove like the start shortcut here with the ramp where you can like jump over the wall or even on top of the house. I'm pretty sure that's not here anymore. Oh, you know what? We have a feather right now. I can use this to do like the shortcut pathway. Let's try that. What the fuck? I pressed jump. Well, never mind to that. I'm not trying out anything because I have a skill issue. We might actually get last against the CPUs here, which would be extremely embarrassing. I'd be fine with third. Oh, I forgot about the power thing. I can't get used to having to switch between like 3 power clicks and 2 because I keep switching between Insane Car Wii and CGP, and it's pretty difficult. Oh gosh. Wow, that was crazy. Holy shit, how did we even get second there? I don't know. Really interesting race. Anyway, this track gets an easy 5 stars. One of the best tracks that we've ever played in this series. Yeah, they really did an amazing job at recreating this track. I still think that the original Delfino Island / the one by ZPL is the best version of this track, but this one's also extremely amazing, that's for sure. Delfino Island is overall just such a W track, so it's easily a 5-star track and might honestly be the best track that we've ever played in this series, not gonna lie. Next up, we actually have a track edit, which is the backwards version of Wii Toad's Factory. We've already played a few backwards tracks in the past, such as Wii Luigi Circuit. We actually played 2 versions of that one. And yeah, now we're playing Toad's Factory backwards. Here we can actually see a lot more changes than on Luigi Circuit. Luigi Circuit is obviously a very flat track, so they didn't really have to change very much about the gameplay there. I think one version just changed like the way that the shortcut ramp is faced. Here though, you can already see that we have some completely new ramps that were not there previously, and they're made so this track is possible at all. You can actually complete the track backwards, which is pretty crazy, but it's obviously so hard that no one could do it in an online race. Anyway, this track is extremely cool actually. Out of all the backwards tracks, this might honestly be my favorite. The track is actually extremely functional. The only minor complaint that I have is that it's not that easy to predict where these guys are gonna be, because you need to take like a ramp before entering this section. That's the only minor complaint about this track. Overall, this track is extremely fun. Okay, what the heck was that? That was crazy. Anyway, okay, please not again. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Okay, we're fine. Alright, we're having some interesting stuff today. That's for sure. Also, by the way, here you have to actually go where the item boxes are, which is super interesting. Normally, you don't often go there unless you really need an item, which is rare because, you know, there's item boxes right here. Anyway, this is another track that easily gets 5 stars. Yeah, I already love Toad's Factory, and it's somehow probably even better backwards. I really love the way that most of these ramps work. It's surprisingly very functional, aside the fact that some CPUs don't know how to drive it, but I guess that's kind of normal with CTs. Overall, this track works extremely well, and 5 stars definitely makes the most sense here. We are slowly approaching the end of this video, and the third to last track is another retro track, which this time around is GBA Peach Circuit by Floyd. So I already didn't have much to talk about in the original recording here. I mean, it's a basic remake of a basic track, and it's probably gonna be even harder now to talk about anything here because I've already played this track now. But let's try it anyway. Overall, this track is quite solid, I'd say. It looks fine visually, and the gameplay is fine too. And yeah, that's it. I'm kidding, of course. Still trying to commentate further, but there's just not really that much to say. It's not a very original take on Peach Circuit. It's like quite basic, so it is difficult to come up with like any new points here, but I guess the finish line looks kind of cool. Wait, there is actually one thing I can talk about. Why the heck does this have Peach Beach music? That doesn't make any sense. This is a circuit, not a beach. Alright, thank God for the weird music choice, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to talk about anything. Also, why is there a star on the ground? Man, some of these music choices are super interesting. I wonder if it's actually like that or if it's just like an InsaneCarWii thing. But anyway, thankfully we're approaching the end of this race because I'm really out of ideas when it comes to commentary. But obviously this isn't bad. It's just not that interesting, to be honest. It's a pretty basic remake of a pretty basic track, as I said, so it will get 3 stars. Yeah, it's not a very exciting track, but it's overall solid still. It's definitely not bad. It doesn't really have any gameplay issues. It just happens to be very forgettable, I guess. So yeah, 3 stars makes sense. Alright, time for our second to last track, and that one is Honeyhive Drive. So this track, of course, is based on the Honeyhive Galaxy from Mario Galaxy, which I think is pretty awesome since I really like Mario Galaxy. I like 3D Mario games in general. I think that all of them are amazing. And yeah, visually this is definitely quite faithful to the original Galaxy. I mean, I think the textures here are pretty much all exactly the same, which definitely makes sense. Gameplay wise, the track is mostly simplistic, but there is some pretty neat shortcuts. And yeah, again, it's not a track that we have super much to say on, but overall it's fun to drive. It feels pretty smooth and it doesn't really have any major flaws, aside me getting red shell, but that's more of a skill issue. Let's actually go right here. I want to see the shortcut since I probably didn't try that in the original recording. Oh, it's up for 2? Damn. Yeah, you definitely need shrooms to make that, that's for sure. The CPUs are actually kind of good at this, but it might also be because I just have a skill issue. I mean, yeah, I'm pretty much just driving pretty slowly because I'm like trying the shortcut and stuff. Can we go in this water? We can. Nice. The only minor complaint that I have is that you get a bit of a bounce at the side of the bridge, but it's definitely not a huge issue. What is a huge issue is that I just get blue shot and probably won't win because of that. Oh, actually, never mind. We can maybe take a big shortcut here. Oh gosh. Okay, we're definitely not getting first though. We'll take second. We'll take it. We'll take it. Gosh, we're getting wrecked by these CPUs today, but this is another track that is going to receive 4 stars. I would say it's one of the more simplistic tracks that we've played today, but nonetheless, it's a very fun track, obviously. It looks good visually. I overall like it, but it's not interesting enough for 5 stars. Last but not least, it's time for our final track, Wooden Skyroad. And let me tell you, we're in for a wild ride for this last one. You might not think very much of it like visually speaking, because the visuals are quite simple, but you'll see what I mean. So we already have like a pretty big ramp in front of us. That's the first thing that we notice. So we take this huge ramp, we go into like a pretty interesting turn, and then we go into a loop. So it already starts extremely interesting gameplay wise. Loop actually works quite well, but the ramp after that is a bit deadly, that's for sure. Then we go into like a tunnel, which is interesting. This chain chomp is definitely not bugged, and we end off the track with this extremely tight turn right here. One hell of an interesting track, that is for sure. And honestly, I still don't know what to think of it. Oh gosh, well that didn't work. When you actually get through everything, this track is just insanely fun. The last turn is definitely probably the biggest issue of the track, because it is almost impossible impossible to do. Thankfully, we are getting first on the last race here, it seems like. So we'll take it. And yeah, for our final track, I'm going to give this a rating of 4 stars. Yeah, I think this track is insanely fun to drive. It's definitely a 4-star track. It is a bit janked, so 5 stars isn't quite possible, but nonetheless, super enjoyable track, that's for sure. Oh yeah, and by the way, that means that we didn't have a single track that received a rating under 3 stars. That's the very first time this has happened, which obviously makes this, as I said previously, the luckiest InsaneCarWii episode yet. Alright, and now that we have played these 16 completely random tracks again, it is time to rank them all from worst to best. So there hasn't been any tracks receiving 1 or 2 stars, but 4 tracks have received a 3-star rating. So at number 16 we have Sky Speedway 2, at number 15 we have GBA Peach Circuit by Floyd, at number 14 we have Monochrome Malfunction, and at number 13 we have Rusty Garden. Up next, an insane 8 tracks have received a 4-star rating. So for those we have at number 12 Just Another Bowser Castle, at number 11 we have The Void, at number 10 we have Honeyhive Drive, at number 9 we have Bowser's Gothic Castle, at number 8 we have Aurora Field, at number 7 we have Toxi City, at number 6 we have Forsaken Desert, and at number 5 we have Wooden Skyroad. Lastly, we've had 4 tracks receiving a 5-star rating. So at number 4 we have Wheat Toad's Factory R, at number 3 we have Desert Raceway by JorisMKW, at number 2 we have GBA Sunset Wilds by Flint, and lastly, for what in my opinion is not only the best track of this video, but maybe even the best track of the whole series so far, we have Delfino Isle. Yeah, obviously Delfino Isle is in all aspects a really amazing custom track. The visuals are outstanding and the gameplay is just perfect. That's what happens when you remake such a masterpiece of a track. And obviously overall this has been the best track selection out of any InsaneCarWii episode so far. It is unfortunate that I wasn't able to include the original footage, but I do care a lot about making my videos at least not trash, so it had to be done. Hopefully for the next video we'll be able to actually get it first try. And yeah, I'd say that's it for this episode. And yeah, I hope you guys are having a very much wonderful day, and I will see you guys in the next video. And as always, enjoy Wario on drugs.